I'm Gerald Bentley. This is LVWS Confidential. And tonight we are joined by one of the authority figures in Las Vegas wrestling, the heroic referee, Cody Andrews. Cody, thanks for joining us here.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, and I wanted to start out by asking because we're trying to capture all the different areas of the pro wrestling community. We've had on pro wrestling writers, we've had on ring announcers, we've had on promoters. Time to get a referee on. How how do you describe to people what actually it entails being a pro wrestling referee?
So a lot of the times I have people ask me what I do and I say I'm involved in pro wrestling and first thing they say is, "Oh, Hulk Hogan, John Cena and all stuff like that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a referee." And so I usually explain to them and they understand, from other sports what the referees do, but they don't realize how crucial being a referee in pro wrestling is because it's not just counting, it's so many other things. And then sometimes you get involved and get hurt.
Hmm.
And they're always very curious to know how I do it.
Yeah, how did you get into it? Did you
Uh,
start out as a wrestler and then transition to being a referee, or?
so I started training about 5 years ago at Snake Pit Academy
Okay.
with Sin Bodie and D'Lo Brown and Jake the Snake Roberts. I intentfully went in trying to become a professional wrestler. And somewhere along the lines, it was just I was working with a lot of injuries and stuff, just
Hmm.
trying to get the mechanics of wrestling and stuff. And so I tried to find other avenues that I could do while healing from injuries and also still being involved and not being behind when it came to being a part of wrestling.
Sure.
So I had done uh, a taco fest that they do at like Sunset Park. And so I was thrown a ref shirt and they said, "Would you like to ref?" And I said, "Why not?" And I ref the show. And then ever since then, that was kind of where I was at. At first, it was kind of that role I was given that, okay, we need a ref. Here you go. And years later, I kind of took a liking to it. I felt that was my niche, my
Hmm.
part that I could be a part of and do really well and excel at. And here we are 5 years later.
And you are there as, I mean, as either the fifth person in the ring in a tag team or the third person in the ring in a match. I mean, you do have an element of keeping things in control and legitimately making sure everybody's safe. So there is definitely an important aspect to it beyond, depending on how far you pull the curtain back, beyond the communication aspect of the job too.
Absolutely. I think my number one, maybe number two, no, number one goal, I would say is I just want everybody that's in the ring to come back safely.
Hmm.
And that's the one thing, and for pulling the curtain back, that's the one thing I always tell every single person that I work with is have fun, be safe. Because at the end of the day, I want everyone to do what they love, and this is this, and to also just not get hurt. It's not, as we say, it's not ballet,
Yeah.
and it's serious, and it's just a scary thing. And my job is already as crucial as it is when somebody gets hurt. That's a scary moment because that's a that is a pivotal point of either the match or their career where it's like I have to either stop the match or see what they need, see what I can do to help, assess the situation. And it's a very, very important part of what happens.
Yeah, and it can be hard too because you don't want to stop, right? I mean, I blew my ACL out during a match in high school and I finished it. And, obviously that was an insanely bad decision, and I know I finished matches with concussions and that's that's a big part of what's going on now because in AEW, All Elite Wrestling, um, a day after we're taping this, Adam Cole, baby, came back from 9 months out with a concussion. So I mean, it's definitely something that you have to keep track of. And you're doing Canadian destroyers, you're doing pile drivers, you're doing DDTs, you're doing paradigm shifts, pendulum nightmares. I mean, any of those moves, if you're off just a little bit, could easily end up with a concussion.
Definitely. It is you can't plan for everything that you go in there for because it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
And the match that I had with Ricky Mandel, like I didn't expect it. I didn't, I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I didn't realize that it was going to be like that. And even the day after, like I was hurting. Like man, it was rough. And so
Yeah.
I can only imagine from that aspect is like others do it, twice on a weekend, maybe three times a weekend. And then sometimes, you have people in WWE, people in AEW, they're constantly doing it throughout the week.
Hmm.
And it is painful. It is
Yeah.
not something to mess around with.
Oh no, like they used to say when I was growing up watching WWE and all NWA, WCW, they'd always have the announcer come in and please do not try these moves at home. These are trained professionals. Leave it to them. And yeah, I mean it's definitely true. But now something that I think just about every referee at some point would like to do, in exchange for all of the holding on to the count to the 5 count or, you know, having somebody throw their foot on the rope right there, take the chair and just go right after the person. Is this the match you were talking about with Ricky?
Yes, that is the match that I had with him in December. And I wasn't too happy with the results, of course, but that was my own doing in that picture because I let him get the best of me, and I wanted to hit him as hard as I could with that chair. But I realized if I did this, it's not the way I want to win, let alone what I want to do. No matter how mad I get, I'm not going to resort to his level. So I just I threw it down and I lost.
Got some offense in though. Got the top rope maneuver there, and then I guess at the Level Up Expo, the superheroic side of you came out and had a little bit of revenge.
I had to think a little further than he did. And so level up, I've been there a few times, I've been there for almost every single one that we've done with Versus Pro Studios.
Hmm.
And I've been grateful enough to get to see what it's about. And I've been there in cosplay, I've been there to ref, and it's just nice to see the two worlds connect. And so I thought, what's a better way than to get one up on him by doing it my favorite thing, and that is cosplaying. So I managed to talk Versus Pro management into allowing this to happen, and not a lot of people knew about it, and neither did Ricky.
Well, and as it turns out, the Spider-Man ended up being getting the revenge in, and then you were able to take the mask off and show everybody that you got that step up. That's really neat.
And I have to say, and I tell this to everybody who asks, it was a very shocking and also a surreal moment because everybody's excited to see Spider-Man. Spider-Man is an amazing character. It's one of my favorite superheroes,
Yeah.
and so I'm coming out there. Everybody's cheering for Spider-Man, and I beat Ricky, do the big reveal, and I'm like, okay, here's where it's probably going to be like Oh, because they don't know who I am, you know, especially those that level up. They're there for a convention. They're there to enjoy a convention, so they don't know who I am. They might, you know, be excited, but at the same point, they don't know who I am.
Hmm.
So taking off the mask and hearing them get even louder was absolutely insane because
Yeah.
I did not expect that reaction. It was like, "Oh my gosh. Oh, wow." And it was a pretty special, like, being Ricky, by far, best moment ever, but that topped it just that much.
So what started the what started the feud between you and Ricky? What was the spark that lit the fire?
Um, I can't really pinpoint it, honestly. Just I could say it started, you know, a few years, honestly. Every time I've ever officiated, refed a Ricky Mandel match, he's either done something behind my back, done something in front of me, just blatant cheating, blatant disregard of my authority. And each time, you know, it dug into me, it bothered me, but as an official, I can't be biased. I can't let it
Hmm.
affect me. I can't, you know, I have to just move past it and just do my job. And every time he just kept pushing me and just kept making it difficult to just move past it. And it just got to the point where it was like either I have to show him my authority or I just let him walk all over me. And each time he didn't like it. He didn't like that I stepped back into his face. He didn't like that every time he pushed me that I pushed back. And it got to the point where I had to either, you know, you have a bully. What do? You either stand up and fight or you sit there and take it. And I wasn't going to take it. I wasn't going to sit there and let him keep pushing me around. So I finally pushed back and I demanded a match. And I don't
There it
regret a
is.
thing. There it is.
Well, and the Spider-Man costume's a great deep dive into the Spider-Man origin too, because before he decided to be a hero, he had his costume and went to do a wrestling match to just try and make money. And then that's where the
Yeah.
great power comes great responsibility. And depending on which origin story of Spider-Man you read, but nobody's probably looking to get deep into the weeds of Spider-Man. But man, I don't know. I'm surprised some people are. How did the cosplay come about? Because not just Spider-Man, you got quite the collection of DC and Marvel heroes going.
Um, so I'm a huge Arrow fan. I love Arrow.
Sure.
That is my go-to show. And so in 2019, I came across a group called the Las Vegas Cosplayer Alliance. And so I had joined them and I've been with them since then. I am on the board. I help run. We're a nonprofit, and we just do children's events. We go see the kids in hospitals. Get to do conventions. We get to come up with cool cosplays. So I've gotten to do a lot of really cool stuff with that, and hopefully, you know, turn these kids' days around and make
Hmm.
them excited to, you know, see superheroes because, you know, at the end of the day, no, we're not the real superheroes, but in their minds, we are. They're
Yeah.
really seeing Spider-Man or they're really seeing Green Arrow, Captain America, whoever they're seeing. We get to be that embodiment for them and their vision of what a superhero is.
Well, and it's just a great experience too, because there's nothing comfortable about being in a hospital, even with the great people that are working there, the nurses, the doctors, the nurses' aides. I mean, everyone. There's nothing easy about working in a hospital alone, and then a children's hospital, even more so, because you don't want to see kids having to be in the hospital. So anything that you can do that adds a little bit of joy, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of feeling like you're not alone is just tremendous, and it has to be super rewarding too.
It is a very fulfilling kind of like I wouldn't say job, but it's a fulfilling role because I work at the school district, so I'm around kids all the time. I
Okay.
work with children, and then I, do the cosplaying for the children, and I've always been a kid at heart, and it's just a good feeling to also see the kids light up how I used to light up when I would see
Sure.
superheroes or, when I was in school. And it's good. I enjoy being that role model. And so like especially, children in hospitals, it's a rewarding feeling to hopefully turn what they're going through around and kind of giving them that hope at the end of the tunnel that they're going to get through it and that it gets better, hopefully, for whatever they need to get through.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then there's so many tie-ins to pro wrestling too. And like I said, Arrow's your go-to show. Stephen Amell has had multiple matches and really has had a couple of amazing matches against Cody Rhodes. And
Yes.
his show Heels, which is probably a little bit dialed up from what you see in FSW and Versus, but still another good look at pro wrestling.
I really, really enjoyed the first season of Heels, and it was a really cool, interesting perspective on what wrestling is. And you don't see shows like that, where they show you what it's like. And I
Yeah.
really, really liked it. And it's cool to see somebody who has been involved with wrestling and they get to turn this into a story and make it a dramatic, drama,
Hmm.
something that people can really enjoy. And for me, being involved, it's really cool to see the aspects that he puts into this kind of show. And then, Arrow just, he doesn't miss on those shows.
Yeah. Tremendous show. And definitely was a few years ahead of its time because now you have the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is obviously up and running, and DC's relaunching theirs. But Arrow had a really good layered layered view of the world and stayed true to the good versus evil and having to deal with your challenges and not backing up in your standards, which you see in wrestling all the time too, because at its best, wrestling is a matchup of good versus evil. Now, maybe it's different shades of evil because you have the kind of the cool heel factor, but still it is that battle of good versus evil, and you're in the ring there as the moderator trying to hold it together.
And sometimes, I see the good guy and I'm like, yeah, I want to root for them, but at the same point, I'm like, no, gotta be right down the middle, right down the middle. Unless you're Ricky, then apparently I'm always against him. So
Yeah, because I mean, if you didn't see the belt smash against the guy's face, you can't call it, right?
unfortunately, it's one of those moments where even if I have an idea and I've seen it on tape a million times of them doing stuff like that, I have to see it with my eyes. And that's a lot of times is people are like, "Well, he hit him with the belt, he hit him with the chair, he did a little." I understand. I get it's frustrating. I can't do anything unless I see it with my eyes. And sometimes I'm thankful enough to catch it with my eyes and then I can handle it there. But it's like if I don't see it, I can't do anything about it.
Now, do you have friends that'll ask you after if they went to a match, ask you afterwards, "How did you see that? What was going on? How did you see he did that?"
Yeah, I've had people, ask me how have you missed that or how did you, it's all about timing. And sometimes wrestlers will take advantage and either run into me or turn me around. And it's like I'm not trying to be oblivious to it. I'm not trying to I If I know something's going to be there, I'm going to try to catch it. But there's so many factors going on when there's so many people in the ring. I have so many things to it's like a sensory overload. You're trying to it's the Mr. Krabs meme when you're like trying to
Uh-huh.
control everything. And I'm trying to make sure that everybody's safe. I'm trying to make sure we have a decisive winner. But there's so many things going on. I have eyes in the back of my head. I can't. I got to do my job as I see it.
Now, will you watch other wrestling promotions and kind of study what the referees are doing to take take ideas from those referees?
Absolutely. So if I have watched enough, I would say like Mike Chioda is one of my favorites. I've always liked he's in the zone, he's focused, he's not one to get things by him. And definitely one of the tops that I've always enjoyed. Um, Brian Hebner, I really like Brian Hebner a lot. He's a really
Hmm.
good ref. Even Charles Robinson, I would say those are like the three that I love to watch.
Okay. Charles Robinson, man, he's been around forever. So I remember
I
him
was
back in, wow, back in what, the 80s. He was a referee.
Yeah, it was really cool. I think one of the WWE live shows in Vegas, and I got to like kind of meet him when we were at it was like ringside. I got to meet him, shake his
Sure.
hand. He was really cool.
Yeah, that's neat. Excellent. Well, what's coming up for you the rest of as we head into the spring, get deeper into the spring, head towards the summer, because the wrestling season kind of starts with WrestleMania, and we're at the end of the road to WrestleMania by the time this airs. We're recording it a little bit before, but what's coming up for Cody and not Cody Rhodes, Cody Andrews in the ring?
As of right now, things are kind of like I wouldn't say slow. It's kind of taking its course, taking its pace. I'm not too sure exactly what I have coming up. We have a few shows. I have them written down. It's just, I know we have no, we have a versus show on April 16th, I believe.
Okay,
I believe there's an FSW show April 14th. Um, we have a Pride Style show coming up. There's so many shows coming up. So I just, there's so much wrestling going on. For me, it's just I just, I'm asked to be there. I go there, do the
yeah,
job. We move on to the next one.
there we go. Well, in that spirit, let's go ahead and move on to the championship round. We've got the Las Vegas wrestling scene title for you. Just a few quick questions. You already said your favorite superheroes, the Arrow. Who's next?
Um, So Arrow is one of my favorite shows, definitely. I'd say if I had the top superhero, Batman. Batman's
Batman.
the
Okay,
Batman's always been the top. It's like Batman, Spider-Man, they're kind of
sure. Oh, more than fair. What event would you like to referee that you haven't been able to yet?
there's a lot. There's a lot on my list that I feel like I've yet to accomplish. Um, are we talking locally? Are we talking about
Anything.
anything? I want to get I want to get on TV, I want to
Hmm.
do an Impact show, do an AEW show, even have the opportunity to do WWE show, you know. That's going to take some time, but
Sure.
I want to get out there. I want to get as much work as I can. I feel like getting on, television and showing off my work. I feel like that's where I got to be because I do a lot of in town local shows. I've done out of state shows, and I want to push to that next level, and that's get on television.
Okay. More than fair. And then what is the single thing that annoys a referee the most during the match? What do the guys do? What do the heels do to get under the ref skin more than anything?
What is something? I'd like to say it's take advantage of us. It's, we're there to make sure there's a decisive winner. So I would say when they're, blatantly attacking us, like some do, of course, or if they think we're just oblivious to certain things, because there's been times where they think I don't see it and I see it and
Yeah.
you even see the beautiful Eddie Guerrero, chair on the ground, they fall and
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. And there's been a few times where I've caught that where I'm like, I know you didn't just get hit. I may have not have seen it, but I know. And it's one of those things where it goes into I can I can be decisive on what I see
And figure that out.
but you know what I mean? It's putting the pieces together, but I see what I can see and I know what I know. But at the end of the day, a lot of people try to get one by me. That makes sense.
Absolutely. Can you give us a 1, 2, 3 count, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
1, 2, 3. Ring the bell.
Oh, there we go. There's the pinfall. Cody, thanks a lot for joining us, and thanks for keeping the rings and the streets of Las Vegas safe as you patrol it and make sure nobody fails this city.
Thank you for having me on, and I hope you guys enjoy watching this.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.